How does Lady Macbeth explains her husband's wild behavior at the banquet? She informs the guest that Macbeth is ill. Who tells Macbeth, "The Queen, my lord, is dead"? Seton. Which roles have played by Shakespeare in Macbeth? King Duncan. Antony and Cleopatra and Macbeth was in which year? 1606. Shakespeare made Stratford his regular home in which year? About 1610. In which year Globe Theatre got fire and destroyed? 1613. In 1613, the Globe Theatre burned down during the production of which play? Henry VIII. What is the last play by William Shakespeare? The Tempest, which is known as Shakespeare's swan song. The Tempest. Which character in The Tempest is referred as an honest old counsellor? Gonzalo. Brutus is a famous character of Shakespeare's in which play? The Tempest. Who is the heroine of The Tempest? Miranda. The characters Prospero, Alonso, and Antonio are from which play? The Tempest. What are the comedies by William Shakespeare? All's Well That Ends Well, As You Like It, Comedy of Errors, Love Labours Lost, Measure for Measure, Merchant of Venice, Merry Wives of Windsor, Midsummer Night's Dream, Much Ado About Nothing, Taming of the Shrew, Tempest, Twelfth Night, Two Gentlemen of Verona, Winter's Tale. What are the histories by William Shakespeare? Henry IV, Part 1, Henry IV, Part 2, Henry V, Henry VI, Part 1, Henry VI, Part 2, Henry VI, Part 3, Henry VIII, King John, Richard II, Richard III. What are the tragedies by William Shakespeare? Cymbeline, Antony and Cleopatra, Coriolanus, Hamlet, Julius Caesar, King Lear, Macbeth, Othello, Romeo and Juliet, Timon of Athens, Titus Andronicus, Troilus and Cressida, Pericles. What are the masked plays by William Shakespeare? Henry VIII, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Romeo and Juliet. What are the problems play by William Shakespeare? All's Well That Ends Well, Measure for Measure, Troilus and Cressida, and The Winter's Tale. What are the Roman plays by William Shakespeare? Antony and Cleopatra, Coriolanus, Julius Caesar, and Titus Andronicus. What are the Romance play by William Shakespeare? Pericles, Cymbeline, The Winter's Tale, and The Tempest. What are the tragicomedies by William Shakespeare? The Merchant of Venice, The Winter's Tale, and The Tempest. Shakespeare dedicated his long narrative poem, Venus and Adonis, to which person? Henry Wriothesley, the 3rd Earl of Southampton. What type of poem is The Rape of Lucrece? Narrative poem. How many sonnets did William Shakespeare write? 154. Who wrote the poem Under the Greenwood Tree? William Shakespeare. but the novel Under the Greenwood Tree is written by Thomas Hardy. Under the Greenwood Tree is a song exists in which literary works? As You Like It. What is the central idea of the poem Under the Greenwood Tree? Life in nature is simple and free. Under the Greenwood Tree, which is mentioned as the enemy? Winter and Rough Weather. Who wrote the poem The Seven Ages? William Shakespeare. There's a special providence in the fall of a sparrow. The line given above occurs in which play? Answer is Hamlet. Which famous Shakespeare's play does the quote, "My salad days when I was green in judgment" come from? Antony and Cleopatra. Which famous Shakespeare's play does the quote, "Neither a borrower nor a lender be" come from? Hamlet. Which famous Shakespeare play does the quote, "How sharper than a serpent's tooth it is to have a thankless child" come from? King Lear. Which famous play does the quote, "When shall we three meet again in thunder, lightning, or in rain" come from? Macbeth. There are more things in heaven than earth occurs in Shakespeare's which play? Hamlet. Some born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. Above lines are taken from which play? Twelfth Night. The better part of valor is discretion occurs in Shakespeare's which play? Henry IV Part 1. The rare action is in virtue that in vengeance. This line occurs in which play? The Tempest. Frailty thy name is Oman is a famous Shakespearean dialogue from which play? Hamlet. Fair is foul, foul is fair. A quote from Shakespeare's which play? Macbeth. Sweet is uses of adversity is a quote from which play? As You Like It. A man can die but once is a quote from which play? Henry IV Part 2. Which famous Shakespeare's play does the quote, "The first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers" come from? King Henry VI Part 2. I have no other but a woman's reason. I think him so, because I think him so. Which of Shakespeare's play contains above line? The Two Gentlemen of Verona. Corruption wins not more than honesty. A quote from Shakespeare's which play? Henry VIII. When sorrows come, they come not single spies, but in battalions. Is a quote from which play? Hamlet. The upright judge condemns crimes, but he does not hate the criminals. Is a quotation from which writer? William Shakespeare. Following are the lines of which play? I am your wife if you marry me. If not, I will die. Your maid to be your fellow, you may deny me. But I will your servant whether you are denied or not. The Tempest. Which famous Shakespeare play does the quote, "Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player" come from? Macbeth. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so, is a quote from which play? Hamlet. Home-keeping youth have homely words, is a quote from which play? Two Gentlemen of Verona. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players, comes from which play? As You Like It. All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand, a quote from Shakespeare's which play? Macbeth. Love looks not with the eyes, but with the mind, is a quote from which play? A Midsummer Night's Dream. From which of Shakespeare's play is the famous line, "Did my heart love till now, forswear it, sight, for I ne'er saw truly beauty till this night"? Romeo and Juliet. When we are born, we cry, that we come to this great stage of fools, come from which play? King Lear. Who wrote this famous line, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate"? William Shakespeare. Who said that Shakespeare in his comedies has only heroines and no heroes? John Ruskin. What sort of life does Shakespeare lead? A carefree and simple life. In what language did Shakespeare write? Modern English. When William Shakespeare died? 23rd April 1616. Where is Shakespeare buried? Trinity Church, Stratford upon Avon. Shakespeare died at which age? 52. In what year was the first folio published? In 1623. How many photographs exist of William Shakespeare? Only two. Who wrote the book The Unfortunate Traveller? Thomas Nash. When did the Elizabethan era ends and Jacobean era starts? Verse 24, 1603. The word Jacobean is derived from which language? Hebrew language. What is the meaning of the word Jacob in English? James. Who was the first Stuart King of England? James I of England. Who is called the father of metaphysical poetry? John Donne. What type of literature is John Donne's The Anniversaries? An elegy in two parts. Who wrote Holy Sonnets? John Donne. For God's sake hold your tongue and let me love. From which poem of John Donne the line is taken? The Canonization. Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never said to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. John Donne. For love, all love of other sides controls and makes one little room and everywhere, comes from which poem? The Good Morrow by John Donne. If our two loves be one, what thou and I love so alike, that none do slacken, none can die, comes from which poem of Jordan? This is also the good moral. What is a 30-line poem with 3 stanzas published in 1633 by poet Jordan? The Sun Rising. A valediction forbidding morning is which type of poem by Jordan? A metaphysical poem. It is a 36-line love poem. What type of sonnet is Better My Heart by Jordan? Religious sonnet. What is the 10th sonnet in Holy Sonnet by Jordan? Death Be Not Proud. Who was the foremost poet of Jacobean era? Jordan and Ben Jonson. Jordan is in some sense the originator of metaphysical poetry, but who is most closely associated with the founding of new classical poetry? Ben Jonson. When Ben Jonson became the poet laureate? In 1616. Who wrote the pledge Every Man in His Humour and Every Man Out His Humour? Ben Jonson. Ben Jonson's comedy is related to which theory? Medical theory. What type of play is Volpone by Ben Jonson? Comedy. Who is Volpone in the play Volpone by Ben Jonson? A childless aged man. Which comedy of Ben Jonson is also known as Epicene? The Silent Omen. What type of play is Alchemist by Ben Jonson? Comedy. Who is called the Comedy of Humours? Ben Jonson. Comedy of Humours, a dramatic genre most closely associated with which playwright? Ben Jonson. Comedy of Humours is related to which theory? Medical theory. What is considered to be the primary text of new classical movement? Two Pen Thrust by Ben Jonson. Who wrote the Atheist tragedy? Cyril Tourneur. Who wrote the tragedy The White Devil? John Webster. What type of play is The Duchess of Malfi by John Webster? Revenge tragedy. What type of play is The Devil's Lockage by John Webster? Tragicomedy. Who proclaimed himself as the heir to the Shakespeare at the Globe Theatre? John Webster. The Jacobean era ended with a severe economic depression in 1620 to 1626, complicated by a serious outbreak of death in London in 1625. Answer is bubonic plague. What are the beginning and ending years of the reign of James I? This is the question you have to answer. Try to answer the question and watch our next video. Thank you.